And the world I saw is the warning I have for humanity about the metaverse. I also have a warning for it. And it comes from a personal experience that I want to share. And this is not for everyone. And I'm probably going to lose some subs after this because you might think I'm crazy after what I have to share with you guys. But if you guys want to stick with me, I'll share with you guys. It's something I'm going to open up that I didn't really, it's not that I don't want to do it. It's, I don't have to. It may affect the way people think about me, but I don't care. I want to share this. It's the day I became an entrepreneur. I was always an entrepreneur since I was a kid, but I never realized I was an entrepreneur. I was always selling. In Haiti, you would find someone with electricity 24/7. You would find someone that has a computer. You would find someone has a computer that has no internet. I was one of the very few one who had all three: electricity 24/7, a computer, and access to the internet 24/7. And you would have to walk a 3 mile radius before you find someone else in the same scenario as me. So within 3 miles, anyone that lives in this region do not have all three. They may have one or two, but not all three. I did the mile myself to find out that next guy. And if I add video games on top of the computer with if I had printer, scanner, and video games like a Nintendo 64, for example, N64, then we would have to find 10 miles before we find someone else that had everything. So I wasn't born rich in Haiti. I didn't grow up rich in Haiti, but I guess you can say that I had a lifestyle and I had a certain level of abundance that most people did not have. Most people in my country did not have. Okay. And I was basically in a way that I had an unfair advantage. I could get paid to type. I had to learn how to type. So I asked my mom to pay for a course for me to learn how to type on the keyboard. And I get paid. That's how I was hustling. I have a computer, I have a printer, I have a scanner. I ask people to, hey, I'm going to type, pay me. And then I would go speak with people in university. I was maybe 12, 14 years old doing that, printing, finishing the ink, calling my auntie in Canada so that she can buy me more ink. The ink comes to the next person in my family visiting Haiti. I have ink. My business is running. I get paid like that. I also get paid by organizing event, like I would play FIFA, like FIFA 2000, FIFA 2004, where I organizing events. I have my PlayStation, and then basically people come in, they pay me $10, and then the winner takes all, and then I take a cut, and then I would organize something like that every month. Hustling, I'm hustling. That is an entrepreneur mindset, using what is available in your surrounding, understanding the value out there, understanding the demand out there, and then basically figure out a way to make it work in your living room without your mom being too pissed about it, because my mom was starting to get pissed. Too many people are in the house controlling everything and running the company. That is an entrepreneur mindset. But at the time, I didn't know it. I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I just knew that I wanted money, and then I was going to do something to get it. Why am I saying this? Because again, I started 14 businesses and I fell in all of them. So that is an entrepreneur mindset. So I was born an entrepreneur. I just didn't know it. But the day I realized I was an entrepreneur, there's something that happened to me, guys. Before I continue any further, there is an admission I have to make to you guys. I suffer from a mental disease. I am bipolar. I was born that way. I didn't realize I was bipolar until 2014. I was probably 28 years old, the day 2 months before I got married. When you're bipolar, you can have something called a manic episode. A manic episode is basically it's basically you lose control of your consciousness. So I have no idea what's going on. I'm basically asleep, and it's my subconscious mind that is taking over. And my subconscious mind, the way it works is any thoughts that happens in my mind becomes an action. And these thoughts are not organized, they're not rational. You can say we can act crazy. I guess popular guy that is bipolar is Kanye West. So I fit in that range. But there are some advantage, there are some inconvenience. One thing I can definitely need to do is control my sleep because yes, that's how I balance it. But I had a manic episode in 2014. I realized I was bipolar. I took measures to control it. I was hospitalized for 2 weeks. Actually, I think it was 3 weeks, but I don't know. My wife says it's 2 weeks. But for an entire week in that hospital, I wasn't there, man. It wasn't me in my body. To me, I was sleeping, but people say I was talking, I was eating, I didn't know any of that. To me, I was sleeping. So I was already looking for, after that experience, my manic episode, I was basically I was always looking for my purpose since I was a kid. I was always wondering, why am I here? Why am I here? But that day, after I got back home and people were really scared that I was going to kill myself, because apparently that's why my subconscious mind was saying, then they were really worried. And I was wondering why they were worried. But I was wondering, why was I saying all this? Why was I saying, there was a bunch of things I was saying. There was a bunch of things I was seeing. There's a bunch of things I was seeing. And it's funny we're talking about the metaverse and augmented reality because a lot of the things I was seeing was exactly like the metaverse and how augmented reality works. To keep it simple, I call it the 10 phases of bipolar. If you think of a book, I don't have a book next to me, I would show you guys, but if you think of a book and every page in the book is a thought, like you're thinking of something, it's a page in a book, it's an image. And then let's say you're flipping the book and you see a movie, you see the image, or some people, they used to draw on a book and they flip it. And then as you're flipping the book, you could see the drawing is moving, right? That's how you create anime. But if let's say every thought you have, and any minute, and in a 1 minute, you can have 24 thoughts. Well, for me, by nature, I have twice as much than you because I'm bipolar. So if you in a minute you can process 24 different thoughts, me in a minute I can process 60 different thoughts. But when you start going on higher levels of bipolar because of, let's say I drink coffee, I had a dream. When I had my manic episode, I had a business where I was selling coffee. It was an MLM. We talked about MLM before. I was selling coffee and I was drinking coffee for a month. And at the end of the month, I had a manic episode. Apparently, if you're bipolar, coffee is the last thing you want to drink. Alcohol is the second last. But I never had problems with alcohol. I never really go abuse it. But coffee, I never really did drink a coffee until that time. Went into a manic episode because of that. Couldn't sleep well. I would only sleep 3 hours a day. Triggered my manic episode. And then it triggered many levels of my bipolar. So I went from level 2, which is I'm always on. I'm level 2 right now, taking of 24, 60 different thoughts a second, into level 3, 180. 180 thoughts a second. And then like level 4, it's basically 180 times exponential 4. And then level 5 is whatever that result is, time exponential 5 until you get to level 10. And it gets to a point where you're thinking so much that actually level 5 is when you start hallucination. It's and that's where the augmented reality part comes in. And again, I say, guys, I'm going to lose some sub out of this. I understand this, but it's something I wanted to share. I wanted to make this video since 2016, but I'll make it now, and I'll clip this part and share it to some people that in my family that I haven't known this yet. But some people in my family know about this. I tell them all the time, but I'll get to the point. But I need you guys to understand how it works. So yes, that's how a manic episode works. And at the 10 level, you just lose conscious. You just lose the ability to control your conscious mind, and your subconscious takes over. And at that point, I had to be sedated and just man brought to the hospital. I had the SWAT team break into my house, sedate me, tase me first, sedate me, and then brought me to the hospital quickly because I was a danger to myself and I was a danger to anyone around me. That's the 10 level when you lose control of everything. But there are some advantage in bipolar too, because the ability to think fast, you can start running simulation. And I told you that's one of the gifts I have. I can look at different information, put it together, and run simulation, see how it's going to be before it happens, and then go with that trend. That helps me with my investing strategies. That helps me understanding how to invest. That helps me creating the wealth engineering principles. There are some advantage in it too. Some people, when they're bipolar, they think of grandiose thoughts, and I understand why they do that. And I believe honestly, it's the mutant. It's kind of being a mutant in the X-Men's, the next evolution of humanity, because eventually you'll have the ability to unlock certain things in your mind as you evolve as a human being. But anyway, so yes, guys, honestly, I went there. And after that experience, I was really wondering what happened to me. But I also was trying to understand the things I was seeing. And again, level 5, it's when you see the reality and then you see hallucination on top of the reality of a different world, which is your thoughts. My thoughts were becoming visual because they're so fast. I'm not thinking of it as an image anymore. I see it as a video overlay of the reality. And any level after that becomes more virtual world versus the real world. And by the time I'm level 8 and 9, I'm only seeing the virtual world, rarely the real world. And I've leveled in. I just can't. My mind can't process anymore, so it just shuts down, and I'm asleep. My conscious mind is asleep. But yeah, it was traumatic. There was something deep that happened to me too. For bipolar, you go in high in terms of mood and very low in terms of mood. Very high, very low, and every level, a high is even higher, and the low is very lower. The low for level 10, oh man, well, I'll never forget it. Never, and I won't go too deep on that because that's very traumatic. So I spent 2 years really focusing, I would say full time, on trying to find the answer of who am I? Why was I seeing all this? All the things I was seeing. I couldn't understand any of it. But above all, what's my purpose? You might notice on my YouTube channel, I have a segment talking about path to purpose. And I talk a lot about finding your purpose. Well, the reason why I'm able to talk about that, I can coach you about that, because I struggle a lot with that part, but I did find my purpose. I did find my purpose. So I can put it in simple terms on how you can do it too. But that time was really when I was working deep, full time. And my brother as well. My brother was doing that too. Me and my brother, we were talking and having a lot of deep conversation about purpose and how to find it and finding ways to do it, listening to people who have found their purpose and people who haven't, and finding the driving force that push people to do something beyond the means of earning something, right? Before some most people are driven by money, but some people have a different source of energy fueling them. So I was looking into that just to show you guys. If you don't believe me, I was path to purpose. I started making videos like that, and that was something I wanted to make a whole channel on. Yeah, and ways to find your purpose and different things, tips and tricks that helped me along the way. Made a lot of videos about that. But yes, guys. Now, something else that was happening too around that time is every day I would wake up and I would see the number 911. If I see 911 twice a day, that's a good day. Some days I see it 11 times, I see it 20 times. I would see 911 out of nowhere. Whether I see it on a keychain, whether I see it on, I would pay for something, the change I have to pay is 911. I see it on my times twice. I see it in license plate. That's the most scary part. Um, Yes, man. It's thank you, J Bones. Thank you, J Bones. Thank you, J Bones, for your support and listening to this, because that's a very personal topic, and I'm sure my wife wouldn't want me to share it, but I want to share it. I wanted to make this video a long time ago. Yes, man. I don't know. I don't know, but apparently I'm not the only one in the world. There are some random people who see numbers out of nowhere. Another number I would see is 1111. I see 1111. There was a week in August in 2016. I bet you not. I saw 911 and 1111 every single day, 7 times a day for 7 days straight. It was driving me crazy. License plate, I go pay for gas. I'm, the money, the counter that goes, I'm paying for gas. I'm doing gas, right? I'm not even looking at the counter. Looking at gas, and I stop and I'm like, oh, how much? How much am I looking at the price? 911. Let's see. So I stop again. I look 1111. Tabarnak. Like all the time. All the time. At first, I thought it was an emergency number because 911, that's what it's supposed to be. But apparently, there's a spiritual meaning behind it. Again, that's what I was telling you guys. I was deep in the spiritual research and realm because there was a lot of things that was happening to me that I couldn't explain it just with logic. I had to go in a spiritual realm. But 2016, guys, I did find my purpose. And something happened to me. I puzzled. I found the secret. It was understanding who you are, your everything you can do, and understand who your art is, who you want to be, who you want basically selfless activities, understand who you are in your art and understand who you are in your brain. Put that together, you will find your purpose. I puzzled it. The day it happened, I was feeling very depressed that day. Again, I have mood problems with my bipolar. I didn't want to go to work because I felt like I was going to lose my job again. I just felt it. I was working very hard at my job. They would not listen to me. I could see that them not listening to me will cause a problem that will get us to be laid off. I saw it coming and I told everyone at work about it, but no one listened. So I was just depressed. Why am I going for work? Because I knew I was going, and that's what the other day I was working 9 because people were pressing me to finish that work, and I knew it was useless. But I was working very hard, not going to the gym, not seeing my wife, not doing a bunch of things for something that I know will fail. It was very depressing. And that day, woke up, look at the time, 9:11. But then I didn't want to sleep. I just lay on the bed looking up. And I was starting thinking about, my purpose. Why am I doing all that? Then I puzzled it. And that day I also figured out how my mind worked. I realized that if I don't control my thoughts, because my thoughts were starting to be, because when I'm depressed, that also can trigger my bipolar. My thoughts were starting to increase from level 2 to level 3. And I see that pattern before. I know where it's heading. And I started to see a vision. I daydream a lot. So I saw a daydream where I had a river pulling me. The river I couldn't control it. Water was pushing me to the hospital, the same hospital that I was 2 years prior. And I realized, man, I don't want to go to the hospital again. So I was trying to swim and I couldn't. And then I realized if I can't control the water, maybe I can put away, if I can fight the water, right? Maybe I can try to control its direction. So all of a sudden, there was like a bunch of sand, some bags of sand near next to the river. So I try to swim there. I pull the bag of sand and I create like a barrage to block the water so that there is less pressure, and then the water was directed to so that I can at least stay comfortable and not being pulled all the way to the hospital. And then I realized the water symbolized my thoughts. And I realized I can't control and stop my thoughts because every time I try to stop it, it seems that it's making it worse. But I could direct the direction of my thoughts. That's when I realized how my brain works. Then I realized, hey, I'm on level 3 right now, meaning I can process 180 thoughts a second instead of 60. Why don't I apply all these thoughts into a specific question? How do I find my purpose? Then as soon as I said that in my mind, I saw basically a bunch of video that showed me who I am, how I think of my mind, and I saw a bunch of video that shows me all the things that I'm doing selfless, all the donation I give, everything what I want to see in the world, and then I put this with this, and I noticed that if I create a business where I can do this, that will be a way that I can put my purpose into work. And that's the day I became an entrepreneur. I realized that hey, entrepreneuria is a great way to apply your purpose, my purpose, which is facilitating access to energy. At that time, I called it facilitating access to energy. That's what I understood from my experience. But then something else happened. As I was realizing this and I'm going through that mental shift, something else happened. And this is something that Robert Kiyosaki talked about that happened to him too when he was waking up. He's called it a Satori moment. And I didn't know that was it. I Someone told me if you take drugs, LSD, sometimes you can go to places, and apparently my brain release chemical that create the same simulation without taking any drugs. Again, that's why I think you guys might think I'm crazy. I might lose some sub. I don't care. I gotta share it. But something happened. In a Satori moment, according to Robert Kiyosaki, because he was the one who explained that on a video that I understood it, it's when the past, the present, and the future meet at the same time in space. And that's what happened to me right after I realized how my brain works and how I to control the power of my thoughts. Why am I telling you all this? Because we're talking about the metaverse. And I started saying that I have a warning for humanity. I have a warning for humanity. At that time, I had no control of my thoughts. I think I went from level 3 to level 4 while I was on bed, which is rare because normally if I'm level 3, I would stay there for like 3, 4 weeks before I go to level 4. But my thoughts went, I was seeing the image very fluidly, daydreaming, my eyes wide open. I'm not even blinking. I'm looking at the roof, and I'm seeing all this. And I had the Satori moment where, and then I look at the window. Again, I saw one window. Every single thought I had was on that window, kind of like a panoramic picture where the one that you shake and you see an image. But when you shake that picture, you don't see an image, you see a video. And it's a video of a thought, something that I learned, something that I taught before, put on that window. I'm looking at it, and it's basically organized from all the research I was doing from Big Bangs all the way to like the dinosaurs, all the way to like pre-humans, like ancient civilization, Egypt, Christianity, like everything organized, history, all the way down to the year 2015, all organized. Like, wow, that's deep. I don't know what am I on, but that's deep. And I'm looking in front of me. I'm looking at a panoramic picture. Every single one of them, I could pull one and see it and put it back in that window. And I see everything I've done from the year 2015 to that day that I was laying on the bed, even waking up in the morning and looking at the time. That was the last thing. And then right next to it, there was another window that showed me everything I'm going to do from that day when I wake up to the bed to 2017. I was seeing a year from the past, a year from the future. I was like, wow, that's deep. And then I look on this side. Now, on this side, I see something different. I see 4 big windows. And the only thing I had control on was a lever that I could control to put which window I'm going to open and see. And then the lever was automatically on the year. Basically, there was a 40 below it, and I assume it was 40 years from 2016. There was another one 30, there was another one 15, and there was another one 5. I'm like, but that window was open. So I'm going to look into it. And the world I saw is the warning I have for humanity about the metaverse. When I got into that window, I landed somewhere in a corner of a room. I didn't even know it was a corner. All I saw basically all black. Then it's as if someone is pulling. This is a room, all right? Let's say it's a square, and that's a corner. There's no light. My face is right at that corner on the bottom here. Then this is me, and someone is slowly pulling me out, and then my face is aiming that way. So I'm seeing that corner, and someone is pulling me out. Then I'm like, oh, that's a wall. That's a wall. Okay. I see a corner. I see a little bit of light flashing in the house. I don't know what's going on. And I see a corner. And I keep seeing, and I see, oh, I'm in an apartment. Oh, there is someone in there. There's a weird technology in there. It's an hologram. The guy that was watching it was drooling. It was a blonde guy. He was at least 350 pounds, very heavy. He only had like a small pants on him, but he had no shirt, no pants, and the only source of light on that apartment was an hologram that was in front of him that was flashing, and he was watching it. And I think he was using that as a way to stimulate himself. And basically, I was watching this, and I saw it was one room, right? And I keep being pulled away, and I realize I can see two rooms next to him. The room next to him, and the room on his left, the room on his right. And I keep seeing that, and I see it's the same thing. One of them was a woman, another man was another man, younger. Same thing. They were all hooked into a holographic thing, and that was the only source of light in the apartment. The apartment was super small, like a shoebox. I would say 400 square feet. That's it. And then I keep being pulled like this. And the more I'm being pulled, the more I can see. And I don't see three rooms anymore. I see an entire building. And then I see an entire neighborhood of buildings. Every one of them has one source of light, and it was an holographic source of light. And I keep being pulled, and I saw an entire city like this. And the city was Toronto that I saw. I'm not saying Toronto will be exactly like that, but I think what I believe and what the way I interpret this dream was this daydream that I'm seeing live is I'm seeing this as any city in a Western society that will adopt this technology will go through this. As I was going and I was looking at people's apartment, one of the holographic was showing the president declaring a national state of emergency, that the depression rate was going 300% and people were killing themselves. That's one of the things I saw through the holographic. There was a huge depression that was a national emergency, like it was a crisis, huge depression. Now, I think whatever that technology is has a lot to do with the metaverse. What I think will happen is the Western societies will be so addicted with this technology that they will lose the ability to form human bonds. And slowly they will feel depressed. They won't know why. Humans are not designed to live alone, getting stimulation from virtual world. Humans are designed to work together, getting comfort from someone else, validation from another human. There is a spiritual connection with that. I think we're going to leave so much in our brain that we're going to lose connection with our heart. That's what I saw basically. And the entrepreneurial in me saw that and was like, wow, this is a huge problem. How can I solve this problem? Because if I solve this problem, I can hopefully make money out of it. That's what I was thinking about quickly. If I can solve this problem that I know is coming, I see it, it's coming. And how did I see this, guys? It's because my brain was making patterns of all the past, all the things I was seeing in the past. It was making a pattern. And then everything I was seeing in the present to show me this 40 years from now. That's basically what was happening. Then I'm like, wow, okay. And then out of curiosity, I ask, what does Haiti looks like? And then 40 years later, I see Haiti and it was a desert, man. Desert. Nothing changed. I was actually on another, actually it wasn't a desert. I landed in an area that had no trees. An hurricane just went through there. And then my feet was full of mud and there was no trees. There was no plants, no nothing. And I'm like, 40 years later, Haiti's still like this, and then we're going to the fourth revolution with technologies like this? Nah, that can't happen. I gotta do something about it. And that's the day I became an entrepreneur. That's the day I became an entrepreneur. I was already an entrepreneur without knowing it, but that day I embraced it. I saw what was coming, and I saw like I do not want to see that future for my country. I became an entrepreneur that day. As soon as I saw that, then the first thing I did after that, because I understand how my mind works now, I'm like, okay, I'm getting answers. What should I do now? Because I can see the screen in front of me and what am I doing the year from now? And I can type, what am I doing now so that I can change that future? Try different things and I'm seeing different futures happening. Until I noticed, I realized I started a business this year. Then I noticed that future change. And I'm like, okay, I got to go in a business route. Then I put it 30 years later, I saw something else. I put it 15 years later, and I put it 5 years later, I saw that I was actually running a business. By the time I finished that dream, it was 11:11. I'm not making this up. I'll finish. I turn around, 11:11. I'm like, man, I got to go take a shower and go to work. I was supposed to be to work at 10 that day. But I didn't care, man. I just didn't care. But while I was thinking of the shower, man, I was thinking of what I just saw. I was like, what the heck? What the heck? Then by the time I went from work to, by the time I leave my house to work, I was still in that vibe of understanding my past and my present and how it can affect the future. And then I came up with the idea for my patent, how to use a smart breaker and put a computer on it. And Elon Musk was going to do it at some point in the future. But if I do it first, he can buy my company. Then I started my business. that idea came within 10 minutes of me in that realm. That's what I'm saying, guys. Bipolar is not necessarily a disease you can feel sorry for me for. It's a evolution for human beings, man. There's a lot you can learn from it. But guys, what did I notice? I noticed the technology, and that's my warning for humanity. Don't lose yourself in that technology because it will be easy to lose yourself there. Watch Ready Player One. The people in real life don't want to live there in the real life. They want to live there in a virtual world, killing their brain cells, have not taking care of their physical well because you don't need to. If you don't even need to dress up to go to work in that world, your avatar is dressed up, ready to go to work for you. So you don't take care of your body. You're going to be overweight. What's the point of going to the gym if your avatar is going to go shop all sexy? If you're on an ugly, you can have a good looking avatar and have the validation that comes with that good looking body, while your real body is ugly. So why do you need that? It will be easy to lose yourself there. Not only that, it's all materialistic, it's all mental, You will lose a connection with the spiritual self, with your heart. And that will create a source of depression unheard of in the Western world. What was I doing 40 years from now that changes the state of Haiti? I understood this. I started a company where I was creating resorts, but solely focus on having people connecting with each other, working in teams to go solve a problem in nature so that they can have that nature energy, and then they have that connection with the bonds, and then so that you go through that experience. By the end of the experience, you have your best friend right there with you. I had a place for Asian continent, I had a place for European continent, for Latina continent, North American continent. I had results all over the country, but I did using technology, but not technology to the point where it would get the Asian people obsessed with it, because I understood the power of it. And that's how I was solving the problem that I saw, making money out of it too, helping my country. That's what I saw myself doing 40 years from now. Well, 30, not less than that now, but it was 40 years from now, from 2016. And ever since that day, every single decision, every single thing I do, it's to work towards that future. You know, my brother told me once that I was a visionary. I laugh at him. Then we started looking into the difference between a leader and a visionary. And then I started looking into the definitions, and I'm like, I think I might be a visionary. A visionary is someone I can see in a very long time, so many details. Perfect example of a visionary is President JFK Kennedy. Very details, is describing 10 years from now how the astronaut is going to the moon. He's telling it to you as if he saw it live yesterday, right? There was a famous British guy, Churchill. He said, the further you can look in the past, the further you can look in the future. I don't know anything about Churchill, guys. But the minute I heard, I went through that Satori moment that I just described to you, and I've been obsessed with that moment ever since. And I heard that sentence, and I heard that quote. I'm like, who said that? You said Churchill. I'm said this guy was bipolar. I don't know nothing about Churchill. I said Churchill was bipolar. Turns out he was bipolar. For him to come up with this, he had to go through a moment just like I had. Because that's exactly what happened to me. For me to understand what was happening in the future, my mind was showing me crystal clear what was happening in the past and put a dot and show me the trend very clearly. And I'm like, a visionary can also be someone who has a vision of the future. And I think that's what I had. So not only I had the ability to see things like a daydreamer, see things in big dreaming, but I can also have the ability to see the future somehow. And I had to embrace it that I was a visionary at that day. It takes a visionary to come up with the idea that I came up for my first startup. One smart breaker can change an entire country. And I showed that in drawings. People couldn't believe it at first. But then they're like, I showed the math. I showed if you're able to do this, this would happen, this would happen, this would happen, and this would happen. Like, you're right. But this has to be made first, of course. But yeah, it takes a visionary to be able to do that, to see very details 10, 20 years from now. A visionary can be a leader, but a leader cannot be a visionary. A leader is focusing on a small, shorter time frame of a bigger vision. But you can have a visionary leader. And I had to assume that I had to embrace that day that I am a visionary. And my country might need me because not many people have this ability. And not only that, I was shown somehow. Some people might say it's a spiritual intervention. Some people might say I'm crazy, I was on drugs. Some people might say it's a side effect hallucination. But I swear to you guys, Ever since I had this experience, I watch the news. I listen to Fresh and Fit. I listen to everything I can get my hands on to understand the dynamics between men and women, technology, seeing how the world is going, Tinder. You know why I do that? Because I'm validating my simulation. And I bet you every month since that dream, I hear in the news something that validates my statement. Shout out to Better Bachelor. It's a MGTOW channel. I listen to MGTOW channel a lot. Come up with a video. Apparently, 88% of people or women die from open heart syndrome. There is a new syndrome out there. It, it called it's called the open heart. Sorry, my bad. Broken heart syndrome, and it happens because people are more and more people are single. They're living single, especially in women. They want to live with someone else. They're not. It creates their valve to open in a weird way that pumps the blood weird, that creates like cardiovascular disease that can a heart attack sometimes, and then they die from it. He released the article in his channel, Better Bachelor. Go check him out. Again, every single month, I see something that validates the future that I saw 40 years from 2016, 2056. That for the month of October, that's what I saw. Broken heart syndrome affecting 88% of people that are single that are women. The other 10% or 12% might be are men. But a lot more women are dying from this thing, and it's a growing trend. And I bet you it will be a trend in the future that's going to grow very high. Why? Because the more you are connected with this virtual reality, you're going to lose the interaction, the feeling of touching a human. We're not designed to for this great of a leap. Computers can make this leap, but us humans, our mental work is so very slow. We cannot adapt to that fast change and adapt to that new world without any consequences. And that will be one of them, guys. National crisis of depression coming for the Western world with technologies like what Facebook is working right now, with the accuracy of their data that they're launching. That's going to give you stimulation without, they know everything you like. They're going to put you in a metaverse world that has only the things you like. You're gonna have your own bubble. Everyone's gonna have their own metaverse bubble, living in their metaverse bubble. It's going to remove real interaction with real human beings, touching human beings, shaking hands, having a woman touching you, you touching a woman. Is going to remove connection with nature. You see a nice picture, a nice video of on a metaverse, but there is something spiritual happening when you actually see the beach. There is an energy, ions from the water, the salt water flows in your body. It revitalizes you. We're going to lose that from the West. That will all create the future that I see. And every month, sometimes I see every week, but on average, every month I see something that indicates me when I put the simulation and I put that data on that simulation, my accuracy of the future that I saw, it just keeps going higher. And I'm telling you guys, the metaverse, I mean, I already knew the metaverse was going to be a future. I mean, I saw it when I see the trend, but what you're seeing now with Facebook is just going to accelerate that. What happened with CV-19 and everyone is stuck at home having to find ways to work remotely is the trigger of that world. So guys, all that to say, guys, thank you for the ones listening to me. I know that may be a crazy story. I know you might think differently, If you're watching on replay and you think differently, that's okay. But I wanted to share this very for a long time. I've been sharing that with my very people very close to me, my mom, my brother, some people and my friends. I talk to them about this dream all the time. All the time. Sometimes my brother helps me figure out things that are not happening, getting close. But I wanted to share that and put it out there. Because when it happens, I want you to go back to that video. That's why I wanted to do it. When it happens, I want you to go back. I wanted to do that years ago. And especially last year, I wanted to record a video like that. But this year, while we're talking about the metaverse, I'm like, you know what? Make money from it. Make money from it. I want you to be wealthy. I want you to be retired from this technology. But do not lose yourself in that technology. Take your money, build yourself a nice place in the Caribbean, nice place in Portugal or whatever, away from the Western society. Connect yourself with nature. Find people that are more like socialized. Even if you're an introvert, go make the effort. But do not, you can still have that technology, but at least stay in a place that encourage more social interaction. Because we're not that ready to make this big of a leap. You already saw the rate of depression in students from the CV-19 remote and not going to school and having to be on Zoom to go to school. Look it up. Every country, every city is as a rate of depression and suicide increased because of CV-19 alone. And now we're going to have a world that's going to be the norm. We're going to have technology that will facilitate remote economy. That's the remote economy starting right now. We had the gig economy. Now it's the end of the gig economy. And now we're beginning of a remote economy. We started last year. Now Facebook is kicking gears to accelerate this. And I tell you, the world that we will be here, the world that we would have 10 years from now will be so different than what we have now. That technology, it will be very easy to be addicted with it. It will affect the Gen Z much worse. And the generation after Gen Z, like my kid, I have a son. Shout out to him. He's turning 11 months tomorrow. Is going to affect his world a lot. At least millennials, we knew what interaction with human being was. We could play outside with real people. There was no political correctness when we were young. We could learn to fight, right? We understood how the real world works. Gen Z can hear millennials talk about that. They have a little bit of that interaction, but a lot of them miss their prime. They're going to prom, right? They're going to their prom, and they miss that experience because of CV-19, right? But the Gen Z, the generation after Gen Z, they will be born in a world of the metaverse. Just like we were born, just like the Gen Z was born in a world of social media. Go check out what happened with Social Dilemma, Netflix video, the issues that Gen Z are having, and the issues that they will be having 40 years from now. The generation after that will be born in the metaverse generation. It will be the metaverse generation. And that trend will just keep getting worse and worse. I wanted to put that video out there so that when it happens, I can say, hey, I warn you guys about it. You can make money from this. That can be your way out of this matrix, this system. But don't let this matrix consume you. It will be very tempting. I know it. I know ways that it can tempt me that I cannot go at it. Man, Team Asia, you showed me a country with shout out to Aaron. Show me a country with a bunch of Team Asia with, with thick bodies. Whew. That I can have a metaverse just for that. Invite you in, guys. and we have a interaction and talk about it and laugh about it. But what about nature? What about going for a run in the woods, breathing the water from Niagara Falls, for example? So there is something spiritual happening there that most people don't understand. The ions in the water is feeding your body in ways that you don't understand. The lack of that energy will cause you depression. The lack of the human interaction will cause you depression. You guys understand what I'm talking about, eh? Shout out to you, sir. I haven't seen you in the chat before. Let me know, how did you find about this channel? Shout out to you. Thank you for your comments, and thank you for sticking around, guys. This was not easy conversation to have, especially putting it out there. Look, my job might find this out, and then they might think of me in different ways. Some people might think of me in these different ways, but I wanted to have this conversation with you guys. I wanted to have this conversation with you guys because you can make money from this. You can also lose yourself from this. Don't lose yourself from it. The future I saw is happening every single day. And I challenge you, if you don't believe what I'm saying, I challenge you, watch the news, watch the trend of the generations, and tell me I'm wrong about the future I said. National crisis of depression, people killing themselves. The president had to declare a national state of emergency. That wasn't a hologram. Everyone was single, living in a shoebox apartment, drooling themselves, watching an hologram. That's the future I saw. I challenge you to watch the news now and tell me we're not leading to that world. Anyway, let me read that comment. Sorry. If you enjoyed this little short segment from the podcast that we did, here where you can find the entire Wealth Engineering podcast. Click right here and we'll see you on the next one.